Okay, so we should have this week's minutes done by when?
Thursday at 11:59 a.m.
PM.
PM.
Okay? Tomorrow by 11:59 p.m. you should have your 5 hours done. Tomorrow we are also doing our progress check. Okay? So the minutes that you're doing go towards your progress too. So if you're not doing your minutes, you're obviously not progressing. So the minutes plus the progress checks are worth 80% of your grade. So if you haven't been doing that, don't expect your grade to be very good. Okay, because these weekly assignments are only worth 20% of your grade. So if this is the only thing you're doing, the highest grade you can get is a 20%. Okay? So let's start with a little bit of review of what we did last week. What did we do last week? You remember? I know some of you weren't here, but some of you were. There may be a hint right there. Combining like terms. Okay, last week we combined like terms. Now, like terms have what? They have the same what?
Terms.
Variables, okay? Like terms have the same variables. Variable or variables. Or they have no variables at all. So when they have no variables at all, they're just a number, like 2, 10, 3. What are those called when it's just a number with no variables? Do you remember what that is called? We went over that. Close. That was one of our terms from last week. There was another one that started with a C. Do you remember constant? Okay. Was constant, okay? Those are numbers with no variables, okay? Only like terms can be combined by adding and or subtracting, okay? So our blank can be different. You said it earlier, the numbers in front of the variables. So our coefficients can be different. But the variables and the powers must be the same. When I'm talking about powers, what am I talking about? No, not that kind of power. Yes. What's another name for that? That little number at the top? The exponents, okay? So my variables and the exponents have to be the same in order to combine them. The number in front of the variables, that doesn't matter. They can be different. Okay? So we're going to do a little bit of practice here before we get into the new stuff. Okay? For this problem here, I have 4 plus 6x plus x plus 10. I have to combine my like terms. Okay? Can I combine the 4 with anything else? The 10. So I can do 4 and 10, and that gives me what? 14. So now I have 14 plus 6x plus x. Do I have anything else that I can combine? I can combine those terms with the x's in there, because those are like terms. Okay? If I don't see a number in front of my variable, what number do I know is there? There's a 1 there, so I can go ahead and squeeze a 1 right there. Okay? So I have 6x plus x. Okay? When I combine those, what do I get? Good. So I have 14 plus 7x. Can I combine anything else here, or am I done?
You're done.
I'm done. Okay? Do we see that? We understand that? Okay? Let's move on to the middle problem. Okay? I have some like terms here. Which ones are my like terms?
3a and 6a.
3a, 6a, I also have one more that goes with that.
A.
I have that negative a. Can 7c be combined with anything? How come? Because of the variable. There's no other variable, or there's no other term that has the variable of c.
Guys, make sure your phones are put away. You have no earphones in either one of your ears.
Okay?
No one looks at me.
Well,
Where
you
I
were the only one.
possibly could have
Okay, so I'm going to combine my 3a and my negative a here, or negative 1a. So I have 3a minus a. What does that give me? 2a. So now I have 2a. I'm going to rearrange this a little bit. Plus 6a plus 7c. Am I done?
No.
What can I combine? I can combine 2a and 6a. Okay, when I combine 2a plus 6a, what do I get? 8a. Oh, I combined that. I have 8a, and then I'm going to bring down that 7c. Can I combine anything else here, or have I simplified it all that I can do? I simplified it completely. I can no longer combine anything else. Okay? Let's move to the last one here. Okay, do I have some things that I can combine? I can combine, sure, let's combine 14, and I have a 7 here. Okay? If I do 14 and minus 7, what do I get? 7. Don't forget that this negative sign is here. This applies to that 7 right there. Okay, so I have 14 minus 7, that gives me 7. And then I'm going to rewrite everything else that I have still. Okay. Is there something else I can combine here? Yep, I can combine these two middle terms right here. Yes.
Is that a 2 or a 7?
At the end, that's a z.
That's a 0.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have 7. Now when I have a negative 2x squared plus 5x squared, what do I get when I combine those together? Not 2x squared. A positive 3x squared. Remember our rules for adding and subtracting positive and negative integers. We have a negative plus a positive, so we're going to subtract those. Okay? And then our number takes on the sign of the bigger number. In this case, 5 was our bigger number, and it's positive, so our outcome is positive. Okay? I just add the z onto the end. Perfect. Can I combine this z with anything else? No, because there isn't another z anywhere in my expression. Okay? So that was our review from last week. Now we're going to move on to the new stuff. Before we move on, do we have any questions on combining like terms? No? Okay, so we're going to move on. So do you guys sort of kind of remember the distributive property? Maybe? Maybe once you see it, it'll refresh your memory here. Okay? So when I distribute something, so distribute means to, so if I distribute this to her, what am I doing? I'm distributing this iPad. I'm giving it to her. So distribute means to give. Maybe next time if you sit up in the front and then you get the iPad. Okay? So I'm going to write this an algebraic expression right here. So when you're using the distributive property, you are distributing or giving the number or variable. So in this case, I would be giving the a. This is the number on the outside of the parentheses. To both, or really to all of the numbers or variables on the inside of my parentheses. Okay? So my A, my outside number, is going to be distributed to my B on the inside, and it's also going to be distributed to the C. Now, when I say distribute or when I say give, I mean a specific operation. What operation do I mean? Okay, operation means something like addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. Okay, I am multiplying. Okay, so when I say distribute, I mean I'm multiplying the number on the outside to all of the numbers on the inside of my parentheses. Okay? So I'm going to show that here. So I'm going to use these little arrows to show my distributing. Okay? So I'm distributing A to B. That means I'm multiplying A times B. Okay? And since this is a positive A, I'm also distributing my positive A to my C. Okay? Does this make sense? Do you sort of remember this?
Yeah.
Probably introduced in junior high, I believe. Okay? So now we're going to do some examples with some numbers in there. Okay?
Okay.
So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to draw these arrows just to show what I'm distributing and to what. Okay? If you're comfortable with this already and you don't have to do the arrows, then you don't have to. But I'm showing that I'm distributing the 5 times the 4. Okay? And since this is a positive 5, I'm going to put a positive 5 here. And I'm distributing that 5 to what other term? X. Good. Okay? Now I'm not done here. I have to multiply this out. So I have 5 times 4. What do I get when I multiply 5 times 4? 20. Okay? And now I have a positive 5 times a positive x. What do I get there? 5x. Good. A positive 5x. Okay? So this would be my final answer here. Okay? What? Oh. Pretend that's not there, like you didn't see that.
What?
Well, you didn't see it, so.
You're recording us. I'm not going to use permission to record.
I'm not recording you.
Are you recording?
The iPad?
Is the voice on? I think
You're being recorded so we can send these to your parents.
Okay? So now we have a little special case here. So if you notice, there's a negative sign in front of my parentheses. Okay? So when there's a negative sign outside of the parentheses, I'm distributing a, what number am I distributing? Does anybody know?
-1.
I'm distributing a -1 to every term inside my parentheses.
Sure, you wrote it down.
Okay? So if you need to, you can put a -1 right there to know that this is the number that we're distributing to the 2x and to the 18. Okay? So I'm going to draw my arrows again. Okay? So I have -1 times, which one of my terms?
2x.
Times 2x, good. And now I'm distributing a negative number. So my sign is going to be a negative because I'm distributing -1. That's coming up next. Okay? So what other number am I distributing -1 to? -18, good. You have to remember to include this negative in there. That's part of that number. Okay? If you were to put a +18, that would change the outcome. Okay? So now we just multiply. I have a negative 1 times 2x. What does that give me?
A negative what?
Negative 1 times 2x right here.
Negative 2x.
Negative 2x.
Plus 18.
Okay, good. Remember when we're multiplying a negative times a negative, we get a positive. Good. So that turns to a positive 18. Okay?
You got that over there?
This would be our final answer here. Okay? Now we have some practice for you guys to do on your own. Is there any one of them that you would like to see before I let you guys do the rest on your own? Or just this 1 through 6 on your own? Any number 5? Okay? I will do number 5. So looking at this problem, which number am I distributing to the inside of my parentheses? I'm distributing negative 8. Now, am I distributing negative 8 to just the first two, the last two, one of them, all of them? All of them. Everything inside my parentheses gets that negative 8. Okay?
So, quick question. It's everything or just the first thing?
Yeah.
Guys, it's everything or just the first thing? Everything, right? Not even the first two. It's all three things. That's a big common mistake that I see in Algebra 1 or even Algebra 2. They do it on the first one. They distribute the first one, but they forget the others. Okay, so work on that right now. If that's a bad habit you have, make sure you don't do that.
So this time we should have 3 of our little arrow arches here, because we're distributing to everything, all 3 of my terms inside my parentheses. Okay? So I have negative 8 times what? Times 6x. Good. And then next here, I'm going to write a negative 8 because I'm distributing a negative 8. Okay? And what term am I distributing that to? The 2. Good. And then what's this last part here? What does that last part look like? Good. Negative 8 times that last term, which is an e. Okay? Now I just have to multiply these out. Okay? What do I get when I get negative 8 times 6x?
Negative 48x.
I couldn't hear him saying it first.
Oh, that was me.
Okay, I have a negative 8 times 2. What do I get there? A negative times a positive? Negative 16. Good. And now I have a negative 8 times a positive e. What do I get? A negative 8e. Okay? So you should end with 3 terms in your answer here. Okay, so go ahead and take a few minutes to work on the rest of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Okay, we'll give you a few minutes to do that, and then we'll move on to the next part. This part here on the bottom, okay, where it says the distributive property and simplifying expressions. So now we have 2 steps. We're going to distribute, and then we're going to simplify. Okay? So do you remember PEMDAS? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So what does that P in PEMDAS stand for?
Please.
It stands for parentheses. Okay? So I first have to deal with my parentheses. So if I get a problem like this, I have to remove my parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to have to distribute first. So first I'm going to distribute, and then I'm going to simplify if possible. Remember the rules for combining like terms. You cannot combine terms if they do not have the same what? Okay? Just did it on the front. You can't combine terms if they do not have the same what? Variable. Good.
With power.
Variable and power. Okay?
Or if they don't have any variables, right?
Okay, that's on the front too. Okay, so first I'm going to distribute. Which number am I distributing into my parentheses? -2, good. It's that number that's right next to my parentheses. Okay? Now when I'm distributing -2, which numbers am I distributing it to? 3x and 6. Am I distributing it to the 4? No. How come? Because it's not in the parentheses. Good. So I'm just drawing my arrows into 3x and -6. Okay? So I've got a -2 times what? 3x. And then what comes next? Okay, but in front of that, what comes in front of that? -2 again, because it's a negative sign because I'm distributing a negative number. -2 times -6. And then I just have this +4 just hanging out there right now. Okay, not doing anything with that yet. Okay, so now I have to continue to simplify. So now I'm going to multiply. I have -2 times 3x, which gives me a -6x. Good. And now I have a -2 times a -6. What does that give me? It gives me a positive. Remember, a negative times a negative gives me a positive. A positive 12. And then what is that extra thing I have at the end? +4. Am I done here, or can I continue to simplify? I can continue. I can continue to simplify. What can I combine here?
Like terms.
My like terms, which are 12 and 4. Good. So that -6 I can't combine with anything, because there isn't anything else with a 6. Or with an x, sorry. So I have 12 plus 4. What does that give me? It gives me a positive or -16? Positive 16. Can I combine anything else here?
No.
I cannot.
No.
So this would be my final answer. I want to get it to its most simplified form. Okay, so that I can't combine anything else with anything in my expression. Okay, so let's do this first one here in this practice section. Okay, so remember, if I have a negative sign in front of my parentheses, what am I multiplying? What am I distributing in?
4.
The 4x isn't directly in front of my parentheses. -1, good. There's this -1 right here in front of my parentheses. So this -1 is what I'm distributing inside my parentheses. Not the 4x. Okay? The 4x right now, just like the other one, we're just letting it hang out right now. Okay? Can't do anything with it yet. Okay, so I'm distributing a -1 to 2, so that would be a -1 times a +2. What would come next?
-1.
-1 times what?
6x.
Times 6x. Good. Okay, so now I have to multiply. I'm just going to still leave that 4x out there. So now I have a -1 times a +2. What does that give me?
-2.
-2, good. Okay, and now I have a -1 times a +6x. Good, it's a -6x because I'm multiplying a negative times a positive. Bye. Can I combine anything here?
Yes.
Okay, what can I combine?
I don't know.
I can combine the terms with the x's. So that's a 4x minus, remember this is combined, or this negative sign, this minus sign is attached to the 6x.
-2.
Perfect, -2x. Why is it a -2? Good, because my 6 is the bigger number and that has the negative sign attached. So it's -2x minus 2. Can I combine anything else here?
No, you cannot.
I cannot. So this would be my final answer here.